All right, traders, welcome to today's midday quick summary here. It is 11 o'clock. As I mentioned, I will be doing these videos every day in the 11 o'clock hour. Just a quick 5-10 minute video on what the movers are for the day. Really a sense of what's going on in the markets. I'll start with the option activity. It's really not a lot once again. It's not really giving us any real sense of what's going on. You could see that I don't really have too many trades listed here, and most of them, I've got Amazon and Netflix on the list, but they're really, really small trades, and I just don't see a lot of big capital commitment, especially to the growth names right now. So I'll go over a couple names that we saw from yesterday, but bottom line is my job is to find what's moving, what's starting to trend to the upside, and what's not. I don't want to be in names that are falling right now. I want to be in names that have the strength. And right now, just as I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, it is value names that are showing some promise right now. So I don't know how long that's going to last. Clearly, the S&P is stalling again. It almost looks like it's the same thing every day right now. I don't know how long this pattern is going to last, but it seems like there's a seller that's either and this is complete speculation on my part, but either there is a big growth seller, a fund that is just getting rid of positions, or they're just rotating. But I mean, this is the same pattern almost every day, right? We get a little bit of a bounce on the open, and then around 10 o'clock hour, sellers start coming in. I mean, it looks like we might be losing the bottom of value here, and it might be more of what we saw yesterday. Now, I don't know, this was headline driven yesterday, but we were already falling pretty decently. So when you see a bunch of names fade from the highs, and then you see another group that's not fading at all, and that is breaking out to the upside, I would rather be in the names that are breaking out to the upside. And I know these are not popular names for people, but I'll start shouting them out. So let me just go over sectors really quick. What started to go to the upside this morning was the semiconductors. I do think at this point the semiconductors, which I do kind of view as a little bit of a value play, depending on what names you're talking about in this group. But if you look at this group, the SMH, it's been pretty oversold. I think it's due for a bounce. I think it's due to turn the corner. There's a couple names that reported decent earnings. So I think they're trying to get this group to turn the corner. It was up 3%. It's off the highs, but we'll see what it can do. One name that has me interested, and I did start a new trade today, I did this via call spreads, is AMD. Now it needs to reclaim the 200-day moving average, but look at, it's really oversold. Meaning, for a bounce trade, it might work pretty well. What's the RSI right now? It's a 24 RSI down into the 2. I like when names get oversold into support. Granted, it does have to reclaim the 200-day moving average, but I think at this point, meaning, it's got some pretty decent support down here. This is where it was hanging out before it made this big rip up. So I took a shot at AMD. So I'm not trading a lot of tech names right now. I'm very underweight tech until we start to get some sign of consolidation and at least a bottoming process, right? It's right now in tech and growth. It's just catching falling knives. Facebook reports after the close today. So I am going to look at a trade in using one of the FANG ETFs that I use as a small shot. Because that's one thing. If Facebook happens to have, good numbers, I think it'll move the whole group to the upside. Now, I don't know what they're going to report, so I will have a very small trade and something where I can make a nice reward for very little risk. All right, so that's that group, and that's the only thing that I'm really doing with that group. What I see is continuation. I'll go back to, I'm just about out of my Walmart trade. I'm holding my very last piece of Walmart, but look at this thing. This is your right now for the short term. These are your market leaders. Coca-Cola. Look at what this is doing after earnings. And I mentioned, remember what happened with Procter and Gamble. Remember what happened with McDonald's. This is where money seems to be, regardless of what numbers are being reported, people are actually buying. Because this was lower on the day to start, Coca-Cola. But look at the consolidation that this is moving out from. A couple other names that are on my radar. Whoops. There we go. Having problems with Thinkorswim all day today. But look at Macy's. Again, a name, I know everybody wants to go into the high growth names and look for opportunities there, but look at Macy's making a nice move today. Inside value, let's see where it closes. As I said yesterday, again, watch the close. Very difficult to add any type of swing trades, after the open or especially midday, because we are seeing that fade. But keep an eye on this name, around the end of the day, around the close. If it gets inside value, if I zoom in here a little bit, 35. One name that we saw yesterday. So again, different, but a lot of things going on here. Look at the bounce on the 200-day moving average, and look at this thing move and break the downward channel. Another name that I mentioned yesterday, I forget if I mentioned in the video yesterday, but Comcast I thought was the best looking trade that we saw yesterday. Look at this thing; it's up 3.6%. Comcast, right? Probably a name you're probably more interested in Netflix right now. But Netflix, I don't know what's going on in Netflix. It's a very small call buyer. It's having problems, and maybe it takes out this VPOC. I mean, it's falling, so let it base. In my analysis, I'm not going to catch, if I'm waiting for confirmation, I'm not going to catch the lows. There's no way. So I'm going to miss out on the lows, but I want to see confirmation. What would help for me is if these things start to turn the corner and retake some of the short-term moving averages. But I would watch this virgin point of control at 266. Not saying it's going to hit that, but so it is bouncing. It's up 18 basis points. If you go, why I didn't trade this or why I didn't chase this today on this bar, which it had some real nice strength in the first hour, is because it's got it does have resistance right at 293 for the day. I'm sorry, I don't know if I mentioned Costco. I've already mentioned Costco a couple of times. This was a trade that we started yesterday. It's making a nice move here. So I've already taken one target in the swing trade from yesterday. Again, something very, defensive value in nature. If we go to the daily chart, why do I like this? I think it's trying to put in some type of a W pattern here, and what I'm looking for is not a home run here, but I'm trying to hit singles and doubles right now. Walmart was a really nice trade, but if this thing can maybe get back to the 50-day moving average, take the majority I'm going to take the majority of the trade off, and then maybe sit with the last piece. That's the plan for that name. So that's it for now. I mentioned a couple other names that are on my watch list as I've just looking. Oh yeah, I mean another indicator. If you want to look at the value indicator, I mentioned this yesterday. Hormel, spam. I mentioned I'm not buying spam. I'm not going to buy HRL. There's plenty of other names, but I will not buy spam. However, it is good to keep on your radar because as spam goes higher, Hormel Foods, it tells you that risk is off. I can't think of a better indicator than spam. So looking at a couple other things today in the major indices, small caps are kind of moving back and forth, but they are leading. I talked about the small caps yesterday. I think this is closer to support than S&P and the Qs. Let me switch. I just want to bring up the daily chart first, and then I'll bring up the weekly chart. Again, it's trying to put in a little bit of a base here. I don't know if that's going to be too early to tell if that's going to be a bear flag, but we are coming upon support, and that's on the weekly chart. S&P, I think, and the Qs don't have support right here on the weekly chart. But if I'm trying to bring this up here, so right here, we're close. And I did set up a trade yesterday because I think we're close enough. It's 142.69. That is a decent amount down, but it's much closer than S&P and the Qs. All right, guys, thanks for watching the video, and have a great day.